Okay, here we are back with another segment on this surfboard sailboat, which could also be a rowboat or stand-up paddleboard or whatever. Its game is it's all built out of curves that only curve in one direction. It's not, you can't have a compound curve on plywood, but you can make a lot of curves and join them together into interesting shapes. But once we had a video which was way too long. It showed you, I think it was episode 51 maybe, showed you how to make your little dream shape come out into the shape of the boat. It was drawn to be a what'd I do? I don't know what I did there. Hit something. It was drawn to be a 14-foot boat. What it ended up with when I fit it on the plywood, there was more plywood than there was boat. So I scaled it up 7% or so. And it's 14.9777 feet. It's 15 feet long. And it's 5 feet 3/8 of an inch wide. So it's a really wide paddleboard. But for a surfboard sailboat, it's just about the right size. So now we're going to go from the 3D of the boat into making parts. So we're going to show you how we do that. This is the top deck. Okay. We need to put places for the stitches of stitching glue. So I don't know if I've got that in there. No. You have to locate the holes where you're going to put your piece of copper wire or a pull tie through this one and then to the one next to it and then pull them tight. So you have to locate these points. And that's what all these circles do. First thing you do is you offset from the edge in to where you're going to have your holes drilled. It gives you one of the coordinates. It gives you how far from the boat. Then all you have to do is go along that thing and space them even. So what we did, we took a circle. And this is an 8-inch diameter circle. So from the center point of a circle, like this one, to the edge is 4. So that gives us 4 inches between the holes for the pull ties. You can use any size you want. When you're doing it, if you have a long straight section, you can just skip every other hole. You can go back and drill them later because they'll be on the pattern. You know, on the paper pattern which you wallpaper paste onto one side of the plywood. So you can go back and add them if you don't have enough. If you have some place that's not pulling up right. But you can also skip every other one, except near the end you need to have them. For the first one, we need a common starting point on all these holes. So we take the end where all the pieces come together and we make a circle that's half size. And that gives us this first one. And then we draw the next actual one. After that, it's just copy this circle, like this circle, from the center of this circle to that intersection point. And you just do that right on around the thing. And when you start on to the next piece, you're going to do that same deal where you always start at the same end of the boat. We start at the pointy end on just about everything. Okay. Now there's a line from here to the outside of the boat that's perpendicular to the boat. It's perpendicular to this point, this edge, even though that's not where your wire is. It's perpendicular to that point because you're going to have another piece of plywood over here that has a hole in it, and that's the only place that's in common is where they cross over that. If this was at odd angles, this would come across here, and the other one would have to come over there, so that the wire is the straightest path you could have. If you take and just draw a line perpendicular to that, just draw any old line. And then you take transform and move, and you move this line from where it is to that place you want it to be. And that's all there is to it. And actually, you have to draw this line every time. You can't copy it because it's a curved shape. Next step, probably up here. Yeah. Next step, we've erased all the circles, don't need them anymore. We've highlighted this line here, which is it's now grouped. It would still work. It would work just the same if you encircled the whole thing. And we've clicked on everything we didn't want, which was the tail of these things hanging out. And then we take this shape here, which is a circle with a lot of cross lines come all to a common center. That way you can put one of those center punches, that's spring-loaded, and punch a little start for your 1/8" drill bit. And we just take that and then we copy it from this intersection to the next intersection to the next, all the way around. Okay. These lines here, they were done. It's going to make sense in just a second. Honest. Okay, between these two lines is a bulkhead. That's a flat plate that's inside this exact shape of the inside of the boat. And because we've drawn this thing as the inside edge of all the plywood, we're drawing the inside face of all the plywood. So it's real easy to do this. We just take some circles and we took these two lines and offset them from where the bulkhead's right in the middle. It's 6mm plywood, so we've offset it out to where we want our holes to be. So then we took and just basically used the trim on the CAD drawing. You highlight these little holes, and then it's down here, it's off screen. You do trim and it punches the holes in the boat. Or you can do split and it looks like it's still there, but you have to take the pieces away. And then when you unroll this, that's like you take this thing as a one directional rolled curve, and that's what we call it, the surface, and then we go down to unroll developable surface down here on the surface set of menus. When you do that, it's going to make a flat thing of your part. It's just going to unroll it. And when it was unrolled, these are unrolled pieces up here. And when you unroll it, these little odd shapes here, that's when you drilled holes through your boat with the trim tool. So if you go to the outside edge of where you drilled those holes, you can snap your line onto that and to one on the other side, and you get these lines, which is where you want to put your holes so that you can pull your bulkheads and sides of the boat together. That's another thing that's new to Stitch and Glue is since we have CAD drawings. This was also done with a bunch of circles, starting at the pointy end as usual. This is offset 5/8 of an inch. You want them keep them close. You don't want them big and gagged open. But you don't want to, if you're using wires and it doesn't want to pull together, and you put pliers on and started jerking on it and twisting, you don't want to damage the wood around that. So you need a little bit of wood in there. These are the bottom of the boats. You can tell because they've got no cockpit like on a sailing boat. So you know that this is the bottom. But in the bottom, we're going to stand up a vertical wall. It's the sides of the cockpit. So we needed holes for the tie wires. In the Philippines, we use steel tire wires. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make a shorter video, so we're not going to go to the other view. What this is the side of the boat looked at from down this view down here and rotated flat. In other words, it would be up at an angle. But we took that panel off the boat. Actually, we just took the whole boat and rotated it, to be honest, because the boat's cheap. We just copy it over there, do what we want to it, and just erase everything else. You edit your way through CAD drawings. You don't so much draw as edit. 90% of what you're doing is more than that, is edit. You know, we start off with a length and a width and just sort of edit it. The whole boat is edited out of that thing. Anyway, by flipping that thing down, now the shape of that wall is the shape it needs to be in the boat when we cut the part. And that was all done to get this one line here. In other words, we need to take this line, and then we'll take the line back to the actual bottom up here. So this is the line drawn on the actual bottom, but the bottom is tilted here like it would be in the boat. So when you erase out that much of it, I don't know if we got him in here. Nope, not yet. That's the next step. Same deal with the circles. Start at the frontmost end, 4-inch circle, then 8-inch circle, center edge, all the way around. Same thing as this here. All that goes around. So your side wall of the cockpit will sit on top of that, right down that line in the middle. Be evenly spaced on that line. And that's how you get the holes in the in the parts for the wires that pulls it all together. Oh, one other thing. This is the side of the cockpit. When I tried to unroll that, this works by quadratic equations is x squared plus 2x plus a number equals some number, or equals 0, whatever. If you go to x to the 5th power and so many x's to the 4th power and so many to the 3rd power, you got a level 5 curve, and it'll fit almost anything. And the computer generates all that. It does the calculus for you. It makes the formulas up, and if it can't do it, it'll divide it into sections. It'll make a curve to fit that section, and then it joins all the sections together. So you get all these nice lines. Because there's so much math at so many higher levels of powers, rather, some of them get confused, and it drew this thing tied in a knot, totally unusable. So what I did was I cut it into, every place there was a big rate of change, I'd cut it into pieces. I cut 1, 2, 3 pieces from here to here. Down here, it was one piece to where the lines got close together, then a little short piece, and then a pretty long piece, and another pretty long piece up to here. And then to put them together, because when you pop them out, they all look like, you have to know which end is up. If you measure the width of the pieces, because it was cut in two, this will be exact. Yeah, it can go out to 27 decimal places. It's set for 4. So all I have to do is copy by moving this point to that point. So this big long pile of stuff ends up to being that. And then I split it down the middle. Oh, that's not what I was going to do. You gotta tell the command before it does it. That's not it either. Okay, we're going to find it. I know it's on this page. I didn't erase anything that wasn't seriously duplicated. Okay, this thing was cut in two and then spread apart by 3/4 of an inch, 0.762 something of an inch, because the height of this was not the exact same height as the top to the bottom of the boat. And I measured them all. When I cut it into slices, 7772, 7773, they're all in the 2 to 3 range. These are the bulkheads. Necessary evil. Somewhere here. Where's the chopped up boat? I don't know. Hey, think I erased that. I might need it. I don't know what for, but you really ought not throw anything away until you're done. Well, it's the picture of one of the videos. It's on the lead-in, like chapter 48. It's and it was also in that how to draw those curves, how you take how you slice your boat up into pieces. And once I got it sliced up, I had to do some other stuff here. Anyway, what I did was I sliced it with one of these wires all down through here. What I did was golly, no, too much. Click twice, you get twice. Put a line from here to there, a line from the middle of that. And then curve, extend curve by line. Okay, let's try that again. Curve to extend. Yeah. And once you got one, you can say transform copy this from one of those corners to one of the corners to one of the corners, right on down the thing. And then you slice your boat up with these. You just cut it in like you took a saw and cut it. And then if you come by and you erase this whole piece here and this whole piece here, you end up with a chunk that you can look into the end of, that you can see the shape of this thing. So then if you come back after you've sliced it and curve from objects, duplicate border down here on the menu. Video's already long. You make that, and then you can you have the shape of your bulkheads, which you need later. So you have tops and bottoms and bulkheads, and you got to get them onto the plywood. Not so awful bad. The way this is done is you put 2 layers of glass, not all facing the same direction. One straight up length of the board, and one at 45, and the piece you cut off goes down here. But put 2 layers of fiberglass on one side of all the plywood before you do anything, and then you glue your paper pattern on there. One, it's easy to get the pattern back off. Just soak it with water, and I use a wire brush on the 4-inch grinder. But it flings the paper everywhere. But all the ink on your drawings will transfer to that fiberglass. You'll have the lines will still be on the boat, which is kind of nice. Because you've already cut these things out. It's just the stuff that's handy is the stuff in the middle in here, and where all the holes get drilled and stuff. Basically, when you put the paper up, you go ahead and drill all those holes before you cut the parts. While you still have the paper, you can drill all those holes. But you take a piece with the fiberglass up to glue your paper on, and then you take a piece of plywood with the fiberglass down, and just put a couple of screws in some place where there's no parts, like 4 screws. That makes a mirror image part for the other side of the boat. You may flip something over here backwards, but the other one will be flipped also because you're cutting 2 sheets at once. So if you need a piece that goes on here and it doesn't fit there, flip it over and it fits, go ahead, because you're going to get the other one when you cut it in 2. The one that falls out off the other side will be the piece that goes here. Anyway, you take these things and you start dragging them and fitting them in and trying to use up all the plywood. And you get to a point where I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. The math was... We're going to cut this video in half too, because I just can't stop. I'm just one of them people who just won't stop. And think I erased that. There's where we got our bulkhead shapes. We had it make all the edges that were here, and then any edges that were going that way, you just erase. And it gives you the shape of the bulkheads. So... And they get the wire holes the same way you did everything else, except you start at the outside edge and work towards the center. That's because you want that even pattern on the outside edge. Anyway, the math was right here, and I don't know where I put it. And it lets you basically just pick a point down here and any place and scale the whole drawing. This was 1.07 of the original drawing, and that was done to make the parts use the most of the plywood. In other words, this thing here, I guess this one here was up here about 7.5 inches. It was just white space. So making it the parts bigger made it fit the 4x8 plywoods. But you drag them in, drag one place in, like drag a corner in, and it can be some odd angle, and then you do rotate. Just that's the center of your rotation, and you just swing it around until it's about parallel, or until it's in parallel to this. No matter like this was probably upside down from where it is right here, you know, because it came off of the top, and I know that this is top and that's top. So obviously they can come from the same place. To cut this stuff in 2, I use squiggly lines. I saw this on a video on building kayaks and just stole the idea. They were working with 5/32 thick plywood, and I wouldn't know how to butt joint that worth of crap either. So if they come up with this, then boy, I hope they haven't got a copyright on it. I feel really bad if they did. I don't know how to get up with them. I'll take these videos down if they do. At least edit this out of them. But you just put this on your part until this little straight edge here, and then you put a straight edge on that, of course. Till that's about equal to the side of your parts, and this would be the where you want your plywood to end. And then you just split the thing apart, or you can highlight this. You make 2 copies. Highlight this, trim off everything on that side of one of them, and trim off everything on this side of the other one, and you got parts with that kind of squiggly end on it. It was done on this one right here. So you have your, you're looking for this space here to be similar to that space there. This makes it a little stronger. Everything numbers from the front to the back. These are the bulkhead numbers. The bulkheads themselves got numbers. And 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You have to know where to put these holes. And what I did was I put the holes in the bottom of the boat, the bottom pieces, and then I copied the holes onto a stick and brought them up here. Basically measured from the outside edge to the first one, and then copied this to there, and that let me see where they were along the curve, and then just move them up and down, like disassemble this, you know, explode it, and then you take this and you move this bolt hole in this thing here by clicking a near point and dragging that down that line until this is the center of that. And you do that all over the whole boat. It takes about 2.5 hours. Okay. Oh, everybody's going to say, well, it doesn't look like a surfboard to me. Well, this one curve here looks like a surfboard. The side of the boat. It's got a reverse angle chine in the front, and it's more straight up and down towards the back. It's sort of like, it's not intended to ride over top of like a 2-foot high wave. It's intended to punch through them. And with a sailboat with that much weight above the deck, it's a really rough ride if it has to rise, you know, up and over. I actually used to sail. I mean, I like that. I used to say I'd race anything with a motor. I'd race anything that goes fast enough to kill you. But sailboats were an exception. And it was a nice quiet afternoon. These were pulled off of the bulkhead patterns. Offset the top edge of the bulkhead 1 3/4 of an inch, and just squared off the outside ends so it's perpendicular to that line, which is the side of the boat. And when you go to put the stitch wires in there, you only want to go through the plywood in the holes you have in your deck facings or side facings. So this is where the hole will be in the bulkhead, the ones you've already marked on the bulkhead. Well, because this was done from the bulkhead drawing with just the rest of it erased, this stuff's right where it belongs. Come in here and put a 5/16 drilled hole, just drilled on that same center, so the wire can go through the plywood and it'll be sticking out here. But you take a coping saw and cut this this deck brace down, knock that piece out. So what you'll have is this round shape here with the hole that's in the bulkhead showing, and that way those wires can go up here to stitch the deck down. And the other thing about this is it's so you can stand and jump on the deck and everything. But it gives you a wide glue surface. If you put this on and you stick it up about an 1/8 inch higher in the bulkhead and put it on with like Tight Bond 2 or something, then that's glue, waterproof glue. Then you can run a belt sander with a stick on the side of it to get this exactly the right contour. And that gives you a wide place for epoxy adhesive to stick the deck down. Like you put a couple of pieces of 2x4 across and use real long stitch wires where you can reach out and pull them through the deck. And then you put your epoxy adhesive on here. Get one that takes about 3 hours to cure, and you can do it by yourself. If it's one that cures in 45 minutes, you know, buy you a case of beer and get a couple of buddies. One beer before you start and the rest of them after you're done. But you put the adhesive on, drop that thing on there and just start tightening wire. Do a work your way across front to back and then till you get to the center. You do one side at a time because it ends right here. That's where that sheet would end. But it gives you that wide bonding surface, and the epoxy squeezes out and keeps water from eating it too much. Also, in the middle up here, not drawn on the drawings, I might do it yet, you need a half round hole here. If you cut, this is going to cut out of probably dimensional lumber. So when you have the pattern laying up there, you just drill a hole here, like a 3/4 inch or 5/8 hole. That way, if you get any punctures in any of the boat, or condensation, or who knows how water got in there. But if you get water in a section or all the sections, you can turn it upside down and pick one end up and it'll all run out. You know, make it drainable. But if the boat is upside down in the water, and that happens with sailboats more often than not. I flipped a Force 5 150 feet from the dock. It's an AMF, beautiful little boat, about this size. But I took my girlfriend out there and threw her in the water 150 feet from the dock and all her stuff. And I told her not to bring a purse, but we spent 10 minutes getting the stuff floating on top of the water and forgot about what we couldn't reach and find on the bottom. She had her backup glasses on, which was handy because the good glasses would have been gone too, just like we lost the backup ones. Anyway, if you get water in, you can get it out. These wider ones here, those are also just cut out of the same transom part pattern. I found out what the shape of the hull is at Station 2. That's transom, or Bulkhead 2 and Bulkhead 7. Those are the ones that they go clear across. These here are ones that only go across the cockpit, those 4 bulkheads. So this angle up here determined what the top angle would be. So when the boat's heeled over, you have something to brace your feet against. You know, this not bending your ankles. Because you're going to be sitting upright, the boat's going to be tilted. So you want to get that part right. And then, what fool erased that? And erased it everywhere. Yeah, you're going to screw up, do it good. It might be over here. Yeah. This is Bulkhead 2, Bulkhead 7. And if you draw lines down here, you can measure how much this V shape in the end has to be spaced off of the floor to get a level floor front to back. I'll give up. I know I did not zoom that many times. Apparently I did. It wouldn't lie to me. And that's why these things are much thicker. It keeps you from, if you have a floor in there, it keeps you from the concentrated load of standing on one foot, getting in or out on one piece of 1/4-inch plywood. Because you can make this piece up here out of 3/8. And I didn't draw patterns for that, but I really should. I suppose you could just put your kid under there and let him trace the bottom side against the deck.